Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Tenor. Hello, Ben. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How the devil are you?
Yeah, I'm the devil good, thank you.
I'm the devil very good, am I? Said
Yes,
Andy.
I'm doing very well,
Correct.
thanks. Oh, busy week coming up. It's the season. It's the bloody silly season. Loads of travel coming up. Loads of people to visit, people to see.
The silly
Because
season. Is
yeah,
that what you call it? The silly season.
that's what some people call it. People who don't embrace the joy of Christmas, but I shall. But yeah, very busy at the minute. But
Talking
in a good
about
way, a nice way.
in a lovely way. Have you put any Christmas decorations up yet?
Not yet. Remember the 1st of December. That point we can
Yeah.
put Christmas decorations
See, I
up.
feel like that. I feel like that almost always, but I don't know. It seems like people are putting their decorations up earlier and earlier every year, and it's kind of made me feel a bit like left out.
Oh, I'm not long to wait now, just a couple of days.
I can't. I ain't got no patience. Get a
You'll be there
tree up.
28th of November getting the tree up.
Do you put the Do you put the Christmas decorations up yourself?
Do I place them in the locations myself?
You got to get us a weird place to put 'em.
Yeah.
It's a
No,
fantastic
never.
joke. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic joke that is all. I love bringing it out every time of the year. I love saying it to my mum, and my mum always says, "Oh, Ben, that doesn't even make sense." And I go, "No, it doesn't." Have you ever heard people call it trimming up?
No.
No, it's weird, that one. I don't know whether that is
No one has ever said that ever.
a Southwest thing, but I've heard it a few times. Someone said, "Have you trimmed up yet? You trimming up soon?" And I go, "Excuse me." I
Is that
think it
another
might be.
Manscaped ad?
It might be a Manscaped ad. Yeah,
Trimming
careful
up
on your.
this year, everybody? Body
You're,
hair,
tr-
sorting that out?
you're trimming up this year. I'm trimming up every year. I like to keep, not every year, maybe once a week. Too much information.
I mean, yeah, with the Manscaped product, which is not our sponsors today, just look at this gold you could be having. Come on.
It's great gold. People, that's at least 2 sales there. It's
So
just the two of
I'd
us.
give everyone a lovely code so they know you sent us, but we don't have a code, so
The
there
code
it
is Andy's nuts with a Z on the end. Nuts.
So it's a bit like Andy's nuts.
Exactly. That's not what I meant at all. But
So if we get a
even better,
sponsorship, we'll ask for that code, and then this will be relevant in the past.
Andy's nuts.
I'll make a quick note of that.
Ben's nuts. Not as good. So yeah, just the two of us this week, rounding out November in style before we jump into December. I guess in terms of horror news, why not talk about what we've potentially got coming up in December, despite the fact not everything's 100% confirmed, so we don't know exactly what order this is going to arrive in.
The ink's still a little wet, but we're getting there. We're getting the plans out.
Yeah, so good a time as any to talk about December. I tell you what, I cannot believe we're almost rounding out another year of horror movies. We'll be doing our end of year lists soon as well. It's flown
Trying
by.
to complete everything, and before I get to that point, got a bit to do.
Yeah, me too. There's still some stuff I need to see. So this first episode of December, again, subject to change. We're going to be doing Tales from the Hood with special guest Adam from the Bristol Black Film Club. I guess we've been trying to get on the show for a while, so looking forward to that. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Some people say it's the best version of Dracula. Other people do not say that. Other people say Keanu Reeves, has he even done an acting before? Whereas I say,
very good.
Whereas I say, I just love all the different variations of Dracula going on in that film. Loads of different skins.
All the different haircuts that he does.
Haircuts. He's a wolfman.
And I heard you say that you like his sexy wives, right?
Did I say that?
That's what you said, yeah.
Did I?
Yeah.
I like his sexy wives. I'll tell you what I like more than his sexy wives. His lovely ridged armor.
Yeah.
His lovely, beautiful. It almost looks like those chocolates. What are they called? Goulian. Again.
Gillian chocolates.
Gillian. What did I say?
Goulian, which is like a spooky version of Gillian if they make ghosts. Or chocolate, marble chocolate,
another
Belgian
word.
Ghosts.
Another word I've never said out loud. That's the problem with me, with Leigh Whannell and Goulian. when words just come out my mouth. I like his armor more than I like his wives. Actually, maybe on a par.
Maybe if you combine those two things together, they wore his lovely chocolatey armor.
Yeah, it does look chocolatey, doesn't it? It looks
Ever
delicious.
so chocolatey.
Yeah. Is it like? Does it make sense, that armor? I feel like it would be cumbersome to wear.
Don't know if you're a vampire, it might be all right.
But even with the helmet, I'm like peripheral vision going on. Something we spoke about with Thanksgiving last week with the mask. Like,
Not being able to see so much. Oh,
no,
if it's good enough for Dracula hundreds of years ago, it's good enough for the Thanksgiving man now.
it's good enough for Gary Oldman, or in that he's also Gary Youngman.
Yeah.
He's also Gary
Immortal
Wolfman.
man.
He's also Gary Monsterman. He's all of the different mans. But yeah, look forward to that anyway.
Yeah, that should be very good.
And we are going to cover Black Christmas. I think one year, a long time ago, we talked about Christmas horror in general, I believe, and that was where we
It's one of my first guest appearances, I think, and we talked a couple of versions of Black Christmas. However, there's a bloody another one now.
There's a bloody another one.
So then this is, live admin Pompidou section here to copy one of my other favorite podcasts where we're talking the internal workings of the show.
Yeah.
So, real life admin here. Which versions are we going to do? Because we've never been strangers to a double feature doing an original and a remake.
Yeah.
So are we going to pick two of them, or are you going to go balls to the wall and do all three versions?
Wait, how many versions are there? 3.
So there's Black Christmas, the original.
Then there's like a 2000s
Black
one.
Xmas, where Billy is a liver disease incest man. And then there is the third one, which I haven't seen. Like a 2017 one, maybe?
Okay. I don't know. Three might be too many, but let's do one and lean into two more somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Let's see how we do it.
Let's see how we do it. Yeah, so like a mainline episode for Black Christmas. I think it's about time we did that. Good to do a Christmas special as well. Last year we did Silent Night, Deadly Night. So yeah, and then we're gonna round out the year with, we've had a couple of queries on Twitter about this. I haven't actually responded to them, but I should. But if you're listening now and you have asked me on Twitter, when's there gonna be a quiz episode this year? I think we're gonna try and do one to round out the year.
Yeah,
is that correct?
If we can get, if the guests are willing, we'll confirm exactly who the team are playing against. But I've started writing the questions, everybody. It's in progress,
dude. If the opponents are willing, I hope so. I don't want
to. Depending on which opponents are willing, so depending on who's in.
Yeah, we're not sure exactly how it's going to work, but yeah, another quiz episode lined up. Probably one of my favorite times to be involved in this podcast. I mean, I enjoy it.
Especially Christmas, Ben. Couple of bottles of red wine. Absolutely fuck up the last question.
Couple of bottles of red wine down McGullet. And then, yeah, fuck up the last. As long as the last question isn't based on one of my favorite properties, then it's fine. I'll be fine.
No pressure, no
shame
mistakes
needed. I thought I'm adamant that you're trying to trick me in that moment. Maybe after 2 bottles of wine, I get very suspicious, especially of you.
Very, very suspicious.
Yeah.
I was Weskering you all over again.
You Weskered me all over.
And then, we may as well touch into it. And of course, that's December covered, but then we will begin our first episode of the new year will be a recap of 2023, where we'll cover our best, our awards, our other little mentions, any of the topics we cover. So actually, first warning to anyone that's listening, as we get towards the end of December and you get your own top 10 horror movies of 2023 down, or any other honorable mentions you want to make, maybe something that is not a film from this year, but you saw it for the first time this year and it's really caught you up on things, get them in anywhere you can find us. Get it in on the socials, get it in on the Facebook group, get it in anywhere. And maybe we'll read a couple of your top 10 lists out, or give some honorable mentions to anything that is on your lists but it doesn't hit ours.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good to me. Sounds awesome. Yeah, let us know and tell us some stuff if we haven't covered it this year, whether you want us to
Yeah,
sort
if
of
you've
do
not
a
heard us talk
mini
about it,
review.
if you're thinking, holy shit, this is going to hit these guys' lists, let me get it in front of them. Shout out anything you think we should still cover before the year ends to make sure it has the chance to find a place on our top 10 lists.
Hell yes. Okay, so the next film, the next piece of horror news we're going to discuss is all of the news and controversy surrounding Scream 7, which is kind of pretty nuts, to see this kind of unfolding right in front of our eyes, especially after Neve Campbell got dropped from Scream. It was Scream 6, wasn't it?
Yeah, she didn't. Well, she chose not to do the film because they offered her words, not mine, an insultingly low amount of money, right? So they didn't offer her enough the money that she thought she was worth to the franchise. Bearing in mind
Yeah.
she's been in 5 entries of it already and is probably the most recognizable character in it. Fair enough, I'd say.
Yeah, and obviously, as maybe that should have been our first hint that the powers that be involved in the Scream franchise possibly haven't got the best interests of their stars, sorry, at heart. Because of course, Melissa Barrera this week was officially dropped. That was this week, wasn't it? So she's essentially like the new Neve Campbell for this trilogy for six, 7, and 5, 6, and 7. So very strange for them to essentially let their star, for them to just completely drop her. And it was based on the fact that she put some social media posts out being vocal and supportive of Palestine in terms of everything that's going on over there in terms of genocide and loss of life and just general sort of like bad times. Obviously, that's a really awful way of describing it. I apologize for that. But yeah, so she's obviously come out and said and given her support, and the words she's used, like she hasn't used any words that like A, incite violence, B, encourage any sort of racism or anything like that. She's kind of just been vocal about her support for Palestine, and she's just lost her job, like just like that. And again,
Yeah.
we don't know if anything's gone on behind the scenes. Perhaps
And then
people
the
were warned.
director came out and said that I wasn't consulted about this. This sucks. Didn't say, like, just said
Yeah.
it's awful.
So we don't know what's going on with Screen 7, whether like the script's done. I'm assuming like it's coming out next year, isn't it? So
And in the same way, Jenna Ortega, this was previously reported that she had a clash with Wednesday filming, so she is
yeah.
also out at this point.
Yeah, so I mean that seemed to happen afterwards, didn't it? And initially
I
I
think it
thought,
was old, but it got re-reported in the
okay, I
wake of
see.
what already happened.
So I thought Jenna Ortega was like, right, okay, you're dropping Melissa Barrera. I'm no longer involved. That's how it was framed. But yeah, that's obviously not what's
I think
happened.
the clash had been announced some time ago, but basically in the wake of this, it's basically been picked up and publicized again.
But
So
also,
basically,
like,
two of their major characters are not due to be returning.
I mean, it opens a lot of interesting talking points, doesn't it? It's like, should you be able to just say what you want, and whether you, I don't think that. I think there should be repercussions for certain behaviors, of course, 100%. But this does not feel like one of those situations. This feels like somebody just making their feelings known. They're not inciting any sort of violence from one side or the other. They're not being. It doesn't seem problematic. It doesn't seem to be. Obviously, with a lot of this stuff at the moment, some people have been accused of anti-Semitism and things. It's got none of that. So it almost just looks like, right, just because you've made a political standpoint, when really, like, the fact that certain things like this have to be considered as political standpoints are kind of crazy. The fact that somebody's made a political standpoint and then lost their job for it, especially when they're like the face of this franchise, feels incredibly unfair, unjust. But also, surely the makers of Scream must realize you've now completely alienated a huge percentage of
Your
your.
audience. Then again, I guess maybe it was a calculated risk that they made when they, were they expecting backlash from the comments you've made? Because again, this shouldn't be, as you say, Ben, a very hot political topic. It is, of course, when there is a conflict of this sense of this thing that a lot of people feel very passionately about, and especially when there can be a fine line between being critical of one government and feeling that you are then taking the side of the others. There are bad actors on both sides of this conflict. I'm in no way qualified to talk about this, but obviously any loss of life is terrible, especially when it is of non-combatants, non-people who are enlisted in armies. It's terrible in any sense. So very rightly, there are people who are afraid and are really passionate about it on both sides. And I think it's very, very difficult for anyone to say anything where, especially in the world that we live in, for other people to feel very triggered or attacked, or feeling that in making one statement, more and more in today's world, if you make one statement about these things, almost by omission and by not saying something about something else, then you are maybe by some sectors felt guilty of, like, you are being implicit in what your take of it is. So it is really difficult. And maybe they have made a statement of, hey, this is a really firm application of policy. We don't want you to say anything about anything. So we'll knock this out. Maybe it is a cynical move of saying, where are we going to get the most heat from? The reality is, at this point, is with losing these major stars of the film, is it salvageable? I'm hearing that they are taking things back to Neve Campbell, probably taking a truckload of money to her house.
But if I've seen a lot of like pockets of Scream fandom who are saying like, right, we're done with the franchise now. Yeah. This franchise was our life. This was like we love this franchise more than anything else. I've seen like pages dedicated to these films that have now said we're completely we're not involved anymore. And I, people's reaction to Neve Campbell being dropped was fairly similar, I know, but people kind of persevered with the franchise, I guess, because of who was involved. But yeah, clearly there are some decisions being made by people at the top that aren't particularly right. And you know what? If the last two Scream films, 5 and 6, were absolutely world beaters, knocked out of the park, I'd be like, they can do what they want. I wouldn't be like that, but still, I'd understand it more. But they weren't. I don't think they were particularly great, and this is probably neither here nor there in terms of relevancy to this particular situation. But I'm not thinking that the Scream franchise is untouchable. So I think that's what I'm trying to say.
That being said, as well as, whatever you got from the returns, I'm sure for sometimes it's been, for some people, that'll be diminishing returns in this sort of rebooted era. For others, this might be their absolute favorite. They could have no relation to the old ones, apart from maybe a curiosity, but they could be your absolute favorites. And these are the horror films you've come up on. I guess what you could say is, especially if the vision for the new one, whatever that may have been, is massively compromised, is it arguable to say no major spoilers for Scream 6, everybody, but wasn't a bad jumping off point to end it at?
Yeah, I guess so.
You could just have them walk away as they did, have that the last frame. Being very cynical, will production companies that exist to make money rather than arts choose to do that, or will they try and find a way to make another one? Who knows?
So the directors, obviously Radio Silence guys, are not directing, but they're on as executive producers, and it was Christopher Landon who made Happy Death Day and Freaky, two films obviously really inspired by Scream. He was going to be directing the slasher sequel, and I mean, it's frustrating, isn't it, because it's a franchise that I do enjoy, regardless of the fact that the last couple of films haven't entirely hit the mark. But yeah, it's difficult when that these certain things are attached, these certain ideas are attached to some of your favorite films, and you're a bit like, is it okay to still enjoy this stuff? Is boycotting it the right sort of step? Yeah, I mean, just
I guess the reality is that everyone will have to find their line, like, especially with the amount of information and the amount that we see about people's private lives and opinions and everything nowadays. Like, do you make a decision that you're not going to support a film by a company based on what they've done? Do you make a choice that you won't see a film or buy the music of, or do you have consume anything because of the people who are making money from it, or the people who are in it. Like, I think there truly isn't a right or wrong answer to that. Everyone has to decide for themselves, realistically. But I guess from a business point of view, they will find out what the impact is as and when
Yeah.
they finish it.
We'll keep an eye on this, see how it pans out, and of course we will report on the horror news section of this podcast every week. Not every week, but when
as and when
news.
there
As
are
and
developments.
when. Yeah. Okay. So I guess moving on from that, we've got a couple of news of other sequels. One of which is The Blackening, which was a movie that I saw. I don't know if you saw it, and
I didn't see
the horror
this.
comedy. Apparently it did all right in theaters. I thought it was just okay. I didn't absolutely love it, but the fact it's made a decent amount of money and the budget was just 5 million and it kind of quadrupled that. Yeah, it's profitable as a horror franchise, and The Blackening 2 is going to happen apparently. Directed by Tim Story. I don't know if that was the director of the first film. Yeah, so directing it again, and we're getting a sequel officially in the works. I don't know if it's going to be 2024 or perhaps 2025. That would possibly make sense. I thought it was a great concept. I just thought the execution, especially the final act, possibly wasn't great. But I'd definitely watch a sequel.
Nice.
So yeah, let's check that one out when it arrives. And then also, apparently, Krampus 2 is officially happening. I think there is already a Krampus 2, but I don't know if it's linked to this.
I think
film.
Krampus is one of those things, isn't it, though? Because
Yeah.
it's not a copyrighted thing, so anyone can stick Krampus in the title and do a Krampus-based film, but the sequel to the Krampus film.
The more and more you say Krampus, the more and more it just sounds like a mad word. I was going to say a made-up word, but of course it is. So yeah, apparently Michael Dougherty has plans for a potential sequel with an exciting premise. Hasn't told us what it is, though. Of course, it's exciting. But pre-production has apparently already began on Trick or Treat 2. But yeah, his plans to bring Krampus 2 to life will be after that.
So after he's done a Halloween film, he'll work his way through the year and do a
Crimbo film.
Do a Christmas film, and then, of course, maybe we'll get into talks with him to produce Boo Year's Eve.
Yeah. Okay. We'll look forward to that. The film will focus on a group of strangers trapped in a confined space rather than a traditional family. I see. Trapped in a confined space. How confined? How confined we talking here?
One of those baubles that Krampus puts you in.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. That wouldn't be nice to be. The film, which took a budget of 15 million, talking a lot about budgets today, 61 million it made at the global box office. People are loving it. Oh, creepy. And I think it's one of those films that people enjoy and seems to always pop up at this time of the year, doesn't it?
Yeah. Is it on any streaming services right now? You'd be mad if you didn't put it on one of them, wouldn't it?
You'd be absolutely off your nut if you didn't.
I know it was on Netflix before. By saying that out loud, it will have made it disappear from the platform, though. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, how dare you. But I mean, in terms of horror Christmassy horror films as well, a movie called There's Something in the Barn, Norwegian Finnish fantasy horror comedy film, which we are going to get a chance to see. So hopefully we'll talk about that as well before the year is over.
I've watched it, Ben. The good
You've
folks.
You've only watched it. Oh my god!
The good folks over at is it Vertigo? The good folks over at Vertigo were good enough to send us a screener. I've had a little watch of it, so not going to say anything here. Once you've done it, we'll get on the mics and do a little bite size about it, shall we?
We'll get on the mics. ACT on the mic. That's you.
Yeah. What I will say before, we'll save the big talk for later, but it's all right, check it out.
In terms of concept, was it a bit like Rare Exports?
A little bit, but less industrial and more like a little bit fish out of water, because it's an American family that have moved there. Okay, so you're very much so, you're explaining what the little creatures are, and you get some local people who are trying to educate them, and it's got a little bit of Gremlins about it. It's got some more fun about it. It's not quite as dark as Rare Exports is, which is pretty bleak in some places. It's meant in good fun. Similar energy to Werewolves Within. that kind of level of a little bit of gore and
Okay.
violence and a little bit of just tongue-in-cheek humor.
Yeah. Awesome. Exciting stuff. And the last piece of horror news I've got is that there is a documentary called Terabytes, Evolution of Horror Gaming, coming from the makers of the In Search of Darkness franchise. It's In Search of Darkness presents Terabytes. Horror gaming, Andy. That sounds right up our street, doesn't it? And we are going to be having an interview, a special episode, a bonus episode interview with development producer Daniel Richardson later this week. The episode possibly arrive later this week, maybe next week. And we're going to talk about their plans for Terabytes, how it's coming together, how listeners can get involved and horror gaming fans can get involved with what films should be covered. It looks like the mainstream horror games are going to be covered, as well as some under the radar hidden gems and stuff like that. Any that you'd like to see covered, Andy?
Obviously, we should be talking about Soma, one of my all-time favorites. And then I would ask him, or indeed anyone, if they've ever played a game that can create the same level of anxiety and fear as playing the NES version of Home Alone, where you just got to hide from Harry and Marv from around the house for 10 minutes. Oh my goodness, that is a tense game.
Yeah. I mean, the Mega Drive version was pretty tense as well, because you're on a timer and they're just
that's the one then. So it's not the one where you're platforming. You basically got a single map, which is your house.
That's right.
You can pick up things and put down, and they will just be charging around the house, getting you. And you can put a trap down, and it will knock them over for a fixed amount of time. But you basically got to evade them for is it 10 or 15 minutes? It's not that.
It's like that. It's there's a ghost in one of the houses as well, right?
Is there a ghost? I don't know. Maybe we're talking different versions. I'll
find
a screenshot and put it up. So the version I played, it's really, really limited to one set of screens, just the house that you go in. You go out over the little rope to the So you
don't drive around on a sled.
No, yeah, just on purely in the house.
That's the Mega Drive version then.
Too tense. But in terms of actual horror games, obviously I expect Resident Evil will be coming up with you interviewing him, so don't need to remind you of that. But yeah, those others get straight in.
Yeah, some Resi, Fatal Frame would be nice.
Yes. Project Zero, as we call it.
Forbidden Siren, Project Zero, of course. Dino Crisis would be nice to discuss. Obviously, Silent Hill. Alone in the Dark.
I'll text you some more. I mean, I haven't started Alan Wake 2 yet, so no one talked to me about it until I can.
Oh, yeah. Well, we could talk about Alan Wake 1 with them. Okay. There we go. That is it for horror news. I guess we should just talk about what we've been watching, if anything. Because I know it's been a pretty quiet week for me. I don't know. How about you? Or have you gone crazy?
Gone
crazy again.
I've been hard at work. So we talked about this in the barn already, but
yeah,
I've mostly, apart from a couple of TV series, I'm carrying on with Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. I'm 3 episodes into that now. It's really good. It's really good.
I'm gonna have to get on with that.
I'm a couple of episodes into the new season of Chucky as well. Continues to be really good. But most importantly, for the last week, I've been on one of my, can I say famous at this point? I think so, Ben. Infamous absolute series binges. Do you want to have a little guess? So you've been on my letterbox, so you know. Do you want to have a guess at what?
I've not been on your letterbox. So give me a clue.
A series that we've done the first entry of and its remake. And I've done another 5 or 6 entries in it since, beginning in the 1980s.
Slasher?
No.
How many versions?
I've seen this week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh Jesus! Give it one more clue.
It's ghosty. It's like a haunted housey.
Ghosty. It's spooky. It's ghosty. I don't know.
Bit possession-y. People are getting possessed all over the place.
I don't know. What's wrong with me? I feel like I'm on the quiz episode, for God's sake.
I've been watching, Ben, since our original episode a couple of years ago now, I'd imagine. I've been working my way through the Amityville
Oh
horror
yeah, of course.
series.
You've already mentioned that. Oh, I jumped in there a poltergeist and Amityville
So,
Horror is always one that I forget. There's so many sequels.
and Amityville, I think, is a bit like Krampus, where you can have Amityville anything. If you just type in Amityville on Letterboxd,
Yeah.
there are all sorts of unrelated films, including Haunted Poo 2, colon, Amityville Poo.
Colon.
Yeah. But there's lots. But I've been
Is
trying
that
to
is
watch
that
the
is that legit?
that is a real film. I don't think it's an actual member of this series.
Who's
But
involved in getting that made?
I don't know. Funnily enough, I haven't clicked into Haunted Poo 2, Amityville Poo, but it is a thing.
Yeah.
But I have got through Amityville 2, The Possession. I realized why we prepared to watch this because there was talk of us perhaps catching up with Dan Franklin at one point, who is in
That's
Amityville
true.
2,
Yeah, that is true.
The
Amityville
Possession.
2, not Amityville Poo 2, the
Um,
Poo.
I'm not going to talk about it then, just in case we do get to have those conversations and do an episode on it in the not too distant future.
Yeah, because obviously the star of Paradolia, and you know what? We know the director and the
Yeah,
producer of
so
Paradolia, so
we,
we
we
should get
might
Betty
talk.
Dive
We
Franklin.
might talk about it at some point, but very quickly, I think the best of the series is quite good. It's really quite good.
Any pigs? Ghost pigs?
No pigs, but it's been heavily lifted by the Conjuring series because I think is it Conjuring 2 that has the cold open with the Amityville murders directly lifted from this film, and then the court case
Wow.
is basically because there is a court case section which is the one in The Bloody Devil Made Him Do It. So
The bloody devil made me do it. Oh yeah.
really, really heavily influencing the Conjuring movies, although as an indirect story rather than the full story of what's happening with the Warrens in
Yeah.
those. Yeah, really, really quite good and some really quite scary bits. But after that, it goes to Amityville 2, Amityville 3D, or Amityville, I think it's Amityville Demons, it's also called, which is another really
Nice.
interesting take because the guy who's living in the house is a skeptic, like a debunker who goes around like proving that people are faking hauntings. So from his perspective, loads of people just have unfortunate accidents in his house. After that, I went on to, I must say from this point, we do get some diminishing returns. But after that, I watched Amityville, The Evil Escapes, where unfortunately for the Amityville house, in the opening, cold open scene, absolute shit ton of priests go, right, that's it, had enough of you, Amityville horror. I'm exercising you. And they go exercising
A
it.
blazing squad of priests.
They do. The house is just there, and you hear, and they all march in, and they go round doing an exorcism. But jokes on them because the Amityville horror sneaks itself into a lamp, which after the exorcism manages to get sold at a garage sale, and Amityville's someone else's house.
Oh, you'd be raging if you bought a bloody lamp and it turned out it was possessed.
Yeah, it's not bad though. It's very silly, but it's fun. Then after that, it was the Amityville Curse. And in the Amityville Curse, that's one where it feels largely unconnected, but someone then is renovating the house and there's some horrible possessions and everything go on there. That one's like I was really off it for a while. It seemed really tame until the end when it gets really extreme. After that, it's Amityville 1992 at this point, and it's Amityville. It's About Time. And it's only nominally about time. It's mostly not about time at all, or time travel or shenanigans that are connected to it until the very end, at which point it is.
It's About Time. Crash Bandicoot ripped that off as a tagline.
Yeah, Crash Bandicoot stole Amityville's thing. And then the last one I watched, sadly, the poorest one I've seen so far, is Amityville, A New Generation, where a trendy artist gets given a mirror. Unfortunately, it's an Amityville mirror.
Why is everything? Why is it haunting? Is it going? I'm not just haunting houses. I'm haunting items.
Yeah, I guess because they got sick of the house, so now stuff that could have been connected from the house, be it a lamp, a clock, or a mirror, they're just haunted Amityville-related items. Oh. And then from the original Amityville run, I have one more film left to watch, and I have high hopes for this one, which is the Amityville Dollhouse. But I'll report next time on how that goes.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, looking forward to that.
Yeah, you know what? Being like obviously I've rattled through those very quickly. I would say Amityville 2 is definitely worth a watch, and the Amityville Evil Escapes is a fun time for sure. If you watch no others, maybe give
Lovely.
those two a try.
Maybe an Amityville horror franchise ranking episode is in the
That
future
means
for
you've got to
us.
put yourself through all those.
Yeah. I don't have as much patience as you, do I? But maybe I could. Maybe. Anything else this week?
No,
That's it.
just an
That's it,
Amityville
mate. That's what I've been
bonanza.
doing. Going crazy on the Amityville stuff. So I mean, I've been watching some series, but nothing really horror related. So I'll just talk about a documentary I watched. I watched More Brains: A Return to the Living Dead, a documentary all about the return of the living dead, the making of, talking about with all the stars. I would say this one's probably just for super fans of the film. It only talks about the first movie, not the sequels that followed. It's like 2 hours plus, which I feel like is slightly too long to talk about one film. And you know me.
I'm about to say, Ben, I saw your review of this on Letterboxd, and I was like, you must be right, Paulie, because for you to say a documentary wasn't long enough is unheard of.
No, I said too long.
Too long, sorry. For
I
you,
said it's too
usually I'd be like,
long.
oh, it's not long enough.
It's
For
just
you to
two
say it's
hours.
too long.
It was 2 hours. I felt like they were saying the same things a lot of the time. Also felt like an opportunity for some of the cast and crew to like air their grievances. And I don't know why, but in some places it felt a bit like unnecessary. I was like, all right, Jesus. They were like slating some of the effects, and then they cut to the guy who did the effects, and he'd be explaining why the effects possibly weren't so good. I don't know. It just felt like a bit of a. Apparently, it was a really difficult shoot as well. It wasn't like all sunshines and rainbows and everyone was getting on really well. I think there were some major issues, and it was like really long and drawn out, and I think they changed a lot of things when it was happening. So considering a film that's like well loved by a lot of people, I don't know if watching this documentary is the best idea if you're a huge fan of it, because you're a bit like
Put you off because the camera was heavy, and
the
I
camera
asked
was
for a
heavy.
cheese sandwich, and they gave me a tuna one.
They put cheese and tuna, which don't even go together. Yeah, it was a bit odd. Most of it was kind of like talking about how much they liked certain things, but other things were like, oh, and then this person who didn't have a clue what they were doing did this, and then that person did... Yeah, bit unnecessary, but still worth checking out if you are a fan of that movie. Maybe just I don't know, don't watch it all, watch some of it, go out and make a cup of tea, come back in, watch the rest. Right. Leave it playing. Apart from that, I haven't really seen anything else. I have moved on to a new book after finishing The Rats by James Herbert. I've now started Fright Night Origins, and you know what? It's written by Tom Holland himself, not Spider-Man.
The other one.
The other one. It's written by Tom Holland himself, and it's like a prequel story to the events of Fright Night.
Jerry the Vampire just having a nice time.
It's Jerry the Vampire chilling out. Well, Jerry the Vampire hasn't appeared yet. It's an interesting one. I don't know where it's going to go yet, because it seems to have characters who I'm like, well, why would they be in the prequel to Fright Night? They wouldn't. They'd just be like their normal life.
Yeah.
Before they met a vampire. So yeah, looking forward to that. I'll feedback once I've finished it. I've had it for ages. I think I bought it like a year ago. So finally getting around to it. It's one of those which I think I was like, oh yeah, and I've got that. You sat there on the shelf all this time.
Get out there.
Get it out. But yeah, that's it. That's it for me.
Apart from, of course,
apart from the film of the week, which I thought I'd watched recently. I checked on the old letterbox. I watched it in 2020, right in the middle of lockdown. I was like, oh, you know what? This lockdown's really pissing me off. Do you know what I want to watch? A film about a killer. Well, not really a killer ventriloquist dummy. He's just like Billy. He's innocent in all of this, essentially. A killer ventriloquist ghost. That's it, really, isn't it?
A killer ventriloquist is level enough, but then to also make them a ghost, the big wambar tongue. And if you shout, Ben,
yeah.
Actually, shouting's okay. There is, as we learned from this film, there is a fine line between what is a shout and what is a scream. Shouting, all right. Scream, though,
absolutely not.
Have your tongue out.
Tut, tut, tut. Okay, so the movie we're talking about, if you didn't get it already from pressing play on this episode, is Dead Silence, which is a 2007 American supernatural horror film directed by James Wan, written by Leigh Whannell /Whannell, depending on how you like to pronounce that name. I know where I stand on it. The film stars Ryan Kwanten, and also Amber Valletta, Donnie Wahlberg, and Bob Gunton. After his wife meets a grisly end, Jamie Ashen returns to his hometown of Ravens Fair to find answers. His investigation leads into the ghost of a ventriloquist named Mary Shaw, who seems to have ties to his entire family tree. That's a synopsis. That's a lot of information. That's giving away a lot of stuff. Ghost of a ventriloquist.
His wife dies.
His wife dies. Ties to his entire family tree. That's not a synopsis. That's a almost spoiler. Okay, what are we looking at? It's got 6.1 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes, 21% critic score, 51% audience score, 2.7 on Letterboxd. And here are some choice reviews. Ryan Preston says, "Now who's the dummy? Apparently me for watching this pile of shit." 1.5 stars. Wow, I like that one.
Schooled himself there as well.
Schooled himself. Cinema Joe says, "This is why you don't heckle performers." 3 stars. Emma Skiro Gurney, great name. "I'll fight anyone that thinks this is better than the Puppet Show episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer." 1.5 stars. Fight them. And Jared Gilman says, "This feels like an R-rated episode of Goosebumps, and for that, I enjoy it. Great ending as well." 3.5 stars. Yeah, so obviously I've said I've seen this before. You've seen this before as well?
I have. Probably not a dissimilar time. I think I was living in Derby, so that would have made it somewhere between 2017 and 20. I must have watched this. So it's been a few years. Long old time between drinks.
Yeah. And had you seen it before that, or was that your first time?
No, that was probably the first time, I think.
I didn't, it wasn't a cinema
I didn't see this at the cinema, no. Even though it has Home and Away's Ryan Kwanten in it.
Home and Away's, what's his name?
Ryan Kwanten. He was Vinny in Home and Away.
Oh, yeah. Is this his first, like, Hollywood?
I think he's done a little bit in Hollywood. I'm not sure if this is the first one. Let's dive into the cast. Him and his wife, Sixpence None the Richer. It's not that, she just looks like her. Jamie Ashen. So he's also in. Oh, he's in Glorious. Of course he is.
Oh.
You know, the one where he is in that toilet cubicle.
Oh, yeah, of course.
With the voice of that elder god. Yeah, that's Ryan Kwanten. Obviously, that's a little while between then. So other than that, you can also find Ryan Kwanten not only as a long-standing character, Vinny, in Home and Away, he was also in Legend of the Guardians, Hurricane Heist, Flight 7500, Mystery Road, Kill Chain.
Are you like his manager or something? Because you're really hyping up
Mr. Heineken.
Leave Mr. Heineken alone.
True story, Mr. Heineken and the kidnapping.
Is it?
Supercon. They have cosplayed for the last time a ragtag group of former TV stars and comic book artists who make their living working at conventions decide to steal loot from a crooked promoter, an overbearing former TV icon. Yeah, it looks like he's done a lot of like streaming and maybe TV movies or straight to DVD movies. In terms of by popularity, Dead Silence would be his big one.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Donnie Wahlberg. Obviously, he is in Saw movies as well, isn't he? 2, 3, 4. Detective Eric Matthews. Listen to this. This is Donnie Wahlberg playing detectives. From Saw 2, he then was in Annapolis playing Commander Burton. Commander, not really a detective. Saw 2, Detective Eric Matthews. Kings of South Beach, Detective Andy. Dead Silence, Detective Jim
Detective
Linton.
Andy, like a
Saw
friendly
4.
policeman who comes to the school.
Detective Eric Matthews. Righteous Kill, Detective Teddy Riley. What Doesn't Kill You, Detective Moran. He has been typecast within an inch of his life
as a detective.
And I guarantee you, and I'm not throwing Donnie Wahlberg under the bus, but I guarantee you, all those characters are bloody same. All right?
Slightly angry detective who doesn't play things by the book. Sometimes he'll be using an electric shaver. Sometimes he'll be planting evidence. Yeah. Sometimes he'll be having his son kidnapped by Jigsaw.
Oh, is that what he does?
In Saw 2, yeah. And he's like, bloody Jigsaw, give me my kid back. And he actually, Jigsaw told the truth. Said if he didn't do anything, he's stuck in this safe the whole time, he'd be fine. But he doesn't listen, does he? And then he gets trapped.
Stop mucking about, Jigsaw. Oh, well, he did. This is obviously like, this film feels like the greatest hits of Wan and Whannell. Wan and Whannell. Wan and Whannell.
The
That
old W
duo.
boys. And it feels like there's a lot of. I know this is we're 3 films into a Saw franchise before this film exists, but you can still see that shared DNA across it, and it has a lot of. I made a couple of notes here of what it had
It's
the
a
energy of. I'm
very
sure it will come back
blue
to me.
cinema. The sort of like color gradient is incredibly blue, isn't it? Especially like the opening scene. The opening scene, I'm like, this ain't real life. This is like an underwater dream sequence or something. This isn't nothing looks like this. Nothing's bathed in perpetual blue moonlight, and it feels like the film kind of looks mostly the same as that as well.
That was what I had. I had a lot of. I'm not sure if it's the appearance of Mary Shaw or the way that timings work and the way that ghosts appear, but a lot of the Nun about it, right? A lot of the Conjuring and the Nun.
Loads of the Nun, and also that theme song, the soundtrack. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself hugely familiar with Dead Silence, despite the fact I've seen it before. That's something else, isn't it? That's that theme song. I'm like, I feel like I know every note of it. I can't be from Dead Silence. I
Maybe
can't
it's the
know.
season, Ben, because my first note on this film was that it was quite Christmassy.
Oh, right, okay.
Quite a Christmassy little song at the beginning.
This is ever so festive. This story of a bloody ghost ventriloquist dummy. I mean, obviously, yeah, you're leaning into things like Slappy from Goosebumps. You can't really say Chucky, despite the fact it's a doll, because Billy. They could have called it something else. They could have called the doll anything else. The fact that it's the little Billy is kind of just it's not like doesn't get up and start killing people.
No, he's a
and stuff.
ventriloquist dummy, which I guess the ghost might be in him because the ghost can go. Well, I mean, spoilers. The ghost can go into the puppets.
There are spoilers throughout for Dead Silence, but honestly, apart from the twist as such, and even that to a degree,
I did
don't
wonder
think...
though, Ben. Sorry
Go
to
on.
dive in at you. Was Billy the puppet from Saw? When did he get his name?
I don't know.
Because he was in it from the first one, but I wonder, like, any Saw heads here can tell us when he
I'm
first gets
Billy.
named on screen.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe they went. Yeah, but even then, like, I feel like if you're making a separate film, this, because it's not like a shared universe movie. This is it. It's not like this exists in the same universe like the Conjuring stuff does.
Can you imagine if Jigsaw had been like, "Oh, have you heard about this in this like countryside little town? Actual ghosts there."
Actual ghosts. That's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, on to the next, planning my traps for the next 10 years, including after I'm dead.
Recording tapes constantly.
Yeah. I wasn't massively favorable on this film initially. I'll tell you what my review was.
What did you say back then?
3 years ago.
A choice review from Ben Errington.
A couple of decent scares, but I found the story to be way too basic bitch for me. Who's this guy in 2020? Why is he talking this way? A truly ready salted crisps, brown toast with no butter horror movie. I mean,
Well, I mean, I've got to pull you up on that, Ben. Are you saying that ready salted crisps are the same as brown toast with no butter?
3 years ago, me is talking absolute rubbish there, I would say. And I'm fine to change my opinion and learn.
Ready salted crisps, Ben, are like vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
Everyone has them because they're very nice. They're popular.
Maybe they're like the crisps. Remember, you could get the little salt and shake crisp with the little salt.
Yeah.
Pocket.
But if you've lost your packet.
If you lost that and you just have plain potato crisps with no salt on them, then this was the equivalent. This was one of those films that even the first time, I think my watch was kind of the same as this time. I find it really hard to fully pay attention. I don't know why. It just felt like, and I'm not the biggest fan of the Saw franchise, and I'm not the biggest. James Wan, I think, is a good filmmaker, and I like some of the films he's made in the Conjuring universe. But I think once you've seen a lot of them, and I've not even seen the Annabelle films, so God knows what's coming up. But once you've seen one of them, two of them, maybe, I kind of get a bit bored when I'm watching another one.
Yeah. James Wan has obviously been very upset by dolls in his time because now you've mentioned Annabelle. Now, obviously, it is based on a real life spooky doll, but that is a soft dolly. Annabelle in the films, very Billy the ventriloquist dummy energy about it. Got a shiny face.
What's he playing at though, right? So Billy from Saw, Billy from Dead Silence, Annabelle from Annabelle. He wrote the story for Megan as well.
The story from a three again.
James Wan, are you all right? Is something going on with
Maybe
dollies?
maybe he grew up really not liking dollies or
Right.
uncanny things.
I've got a new idea for a film. Okay, it's about a doll. No, stop there. Stop. To be fair,
Maybe
he's
that was
making it.
it. Someone like you, Ben, has stepped in, and that's why he invented Little Way Backwards Boy in
The boy's not involved
Malignant.
in all. The boy's not involved with all this, right? The boy's not
No, the boy is
related.
someone else, right?
That would be one
And
step. That'd be one step too far. I would say that's
that
it.
is that is
I've had a
unique though,
guts
Ben,
full.
because as we all know from Brahms two Brahms, Too Furious, the boy two, um, that is not a ghost in there. It is a little scabby baby with a demon inside once you've broken the boy.
No,
The
yeah,
boy won, man in a jumper, but then he becomes a ghost.
we're spoiling everything here, aren't we? We're spoiling all of the films that have ever existed
About dollies.
about dollies. I kind of like. I don't mind a killer doll thing. I think Chucky has kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of this wisecracking, uber violent little dude who's got lots of layers to his characters, lots of interesting things going on. Of course, he's possessed by a man, a dead man. But I kind of like the whole dolly little eyes moving, like everything goes black and it appears somewhere else. I mean, I don't know. For me, I don't know if it's effective in terms of how things scare me. Like, I mean, the doll in Poltergeist, the clown doll, which I think gets not ripped off, but a very similar moment in this film, is iconic, of course. And yes, very, very scary. But yeah, I don't know. This feels a bit nuts.
Didn't quite hit you in the same way. Is it so? Would you say then that the clown dolly in that is that your all timer for scary dollies?
Yeah, I think so, because I saw that quite young, and it was, I think it was scary enough, wasn't it? And it wasn't all about that, that film. There were lots of different scary things. It wasn't just.
Sometimes there's a big worm, isn't there?
Sometimes there's a big worm, sometimes there's a tree, sometimes going out the TV. But yeah, Dead Silence is. I think Dead Silence as a concept could work. I think as a twist, it's pretty good. As a well fleshed out story, yes. I just think the characters, the sort of beats of the story are a bit not great. I don't know. What do you think? Sorry.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I mean, we'll talk plot and we'll talk overall effectiveness when we get to the end, because maybe your opinion will change over time. But watching it back now, knowing the twist that we get to at the end,
Oh,
I
yeah,
do
yeah.
like that all the clues are there as
Yeah, that's
we
true.
go through. I think I might have gelled with it more if it was just one thing. I think I would have taken that there was a live living ventriloquist that was really good at making people into ventriloquist dummies, and there was like a
Yep.
human plot behind it. The ghost thing is okay, but like it felt like a weird
Yeah.
angle to take it at
Because
sometimes. And
she's kind of scary enough without being all undead and stuff, isn't
yeah,
she?
there's I think there are some things to enjoy in it. And I did like looking back, knowing what the filmmakers have gone on to make and what their filmmaking has evolved into.
Yeah.
Seeing some of the things that we get out of this one. I was most frustrated, if you're talking of frustration though, with just the police handling of evidence. You know me, Ben. I hate it when people are not good at their jobs. And the very fact that, Donnie Wahlberg's there going, I thought I told you not to leave town. And it's like, well, I've come to bury my wife. The police must have released her body
Yeah.
for it
Yeah.
to be buried. That he didn't just pinch it from the police station. He's like, what are you doing? Stealing this evidence? I didn't steal it from the police locker. Like,
Yeah.
like you have like bearing in mind, like after his wife is murdered, they appear to talk to him for 20 minutes and go, oh, fuck off, then go home. And they've just go back to your house. And it's like, take what you want, I guess. We don't care. There's no proof. None of
Bloody
us
hell.
collected any evidence.
Donnie Wahlberg, you crazy guy.
Bad at his job, too busy trying to have a like if it looks like I've got a 5 o'clock shadow, I need to pretend to be shaving
Yeah,
this all the
I don't
time.
like that. I don't like that. Constantly shaving. Unless you're that guy in Predator, constantly dry shaving with a little blue
Putting a
Bic
bit
razor.
really hard into your hair.
I like that. That
Don't
makes me
press so hard,
realize
Dylan.
he's nails, this guy. Ain't got time to bleed. Is that the same guy? Yeah.
No, a different one.
Different guy. Oh.
Um,
Ah.
so yeah, where do we begin with this one? We see
So it's the opening scene, isn't it? It's Jamie Ashen and his wife Lisa having a bit of banter
while he's doing some plumbing in their leaky old apartment.
In the most blue looking world ever. This is like I'd walk into that situation and go, get some lights on, get some warmth in this room. But it looks like I'm in.
You've got ice white bulbs in all the sockets.
Ice white bulbs. I'm freezing just watching this film. I'm going, oh bloody hell, chilly.
And it's also like, romantic first apartment. It's all a bit mess, not depressing because landlords are shit. It's all very sweet, and they're sorting out this lovely house that they live in. I can't keep calling his wife Sixpence None the Richer. Her name is Amber Valletta. You may know her from films such as Transporter 2 and Gamer and Hitch.
Wait, what's her name?
Amber Valletta plays Ella Ashen.
Isn't Amber Valletta?
No, that's right. Of course,
the stepmom.
That's the stepmom. It's
Lisa,
It's Laura Reagan, who you might know from Unbreakable,
Hollow Man 2,
and Hollow Man 2.
Hollow Man 2.
Okay. So she is there, and they're going, oh, I thought you said you was going to nip out and get us a lovely Chinese takeaway. And he goes, all right, I'll stop doing the plumbing and go and get it then.
This is the days before Uber Eats, where the delivery does exist. But
so we're like, oh, I don't like phoning. Come on.
I don't like phoning. What you got to do is you got to recite what you're going to say before they pick up. But then they pick up and they ask you something you weren't expecting. So then your trail of thought is completely gone. So and then in the end,
go in and get it.
Could I have chips and curry sauce, please? And they go, you absolute loser.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
So she sends him off to get Chinese, but just before he goes, get a little knock up the door, and they get a mysterious parcel with horrible Dolly in it.
What a lovely gift. Also, at the start of this film, when it gave you the origins of the word ventriloquist, did you know that?
I didn't know that. I was too distracted as well with the design notes that the person over the credits is making, where it's like, perfect doll. What brilliant notes to make something. I do that every time I'm doing a project to work. I'm like, perfect slides. The really good design. Presentation.
Are you any good at doing ventriloquism?
No, but do you want to have a go here? It'd be no good for anyone in audio format, but if you're doing on the video version, you can give it a go. Ben, you can go first.
Thanks.
I would like you to say the phrase.
Some with loads of peas in it.
Bob's Burgers is a pretty good show. I don't know this to be true. I've never seen it.
I don't agree with that. I don't see it. I don't like it. How about let's describe the word ventrilo. Why did Bob's Burgers come from?
So I wanted B's and P's. They're harder to do.
Okay. Ventriloquism or ventriloquy is a performance act of stagecraft in which a person creates the illusion that this is too long, that their voice is coming from elsewhere. I'm not doing the ventriloquism yet. Usually for a puppet known as a dummy, you dummy. But what was the thing? It said that ventriloquism, venter means belly, and loqui means speak. So it's like speaking from the belly. Okay. I guess it's like a diaphragm thing.
So the thing you can just test to test your ventriloquism is just say, I am speaking from the belly, but without moving your mouth. Ready, go.
I'm speaking from the belly.
I can see your lips moving. I get killed by that.
I'm speaking from the belly. It's hard to do a B, isn't it? It's hard to do a B.
You've got to do that little uncomfortable smile, haven't you? Do it like,
I'm speaking from the belly.
I'm shaking from the belly.
That was good.
I am speaking from the belly.
I don't like it. You went all evil. You went all evil like Mary Shaw. I'm speaking from the belly. I can see your lips moving, you stupid bitch.
Little fight. Like, also, like, this was in the olden days. I imagine a little boy saying that in the old days, shouting at an adult on the stage,
Oh,
there would have
battered.
been someone would have like pulled you out of there by the ear.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite ventriloquist's dummy or toy or something in British light entertainment?
I like the one that used to be on when I was growing up. Sometimes there'll be a program when there'd be like a little bit of a host, and then they would show several little cartoons. Not a Rolf Harris one, thank goodness, but the dummy was called Sir Charles.
Oh,
And yeah, give him a quick googs, mate.
Sir Charles
Sir
dummy.
Charles dummy.
Oh, that. Oh, yeah, that's a creepy one. That
He's
isn't it?
horrible, isn't
That's
he?
like,
But I like him. He's
yeah,
funny.
Ray Allen. I was thinking more like British light entertainment, like 80s and 90s. Orville the Duck,
I was just say, you want you love an Orville.
Emu. There was a fantastic
Emu
documentary.
doesn't count as a venture. He doesn't talk.
No, that's true. That's true. He doesn't. But there's a great documentary from like I reckon like the 80s. And I've only ever seen clips of it. I've never actually seen the whole thing about a man who like has an emu, and it's not the guy who has emu. What's his name?
Rod Hull.
Yeah, it's not him. It's just a fan of him, and he is made having an emu on his arm part of his personality. Like he's got no personality. Like he's a very, very beige, boring man. And he's gone, you know what? I love Rod Hull and Emu. I'm gonna make this emu having an emu part of my personality. And let's be honest, most people who have like a little ventriloquist dummy like that use it as an excuse to like assault people.
Usually in the 1980s to like feel up women.
Feel like women, or just like whack a kid on the back of the head. I want me. It was the dolly. It was the dolly.
It was the emu. I feel like there was also someone who wasn't Rod Hull and Emu, someone who had like an ostrich, like Bernie something.
Or I mean,
Welcome to the to the British Puppet Hangout podcast. Where
to be fair though, Orville's pretty cute, right?
yeah, Orville's
It
pretty cute.
wasn't menacing. Wasn't terrifying. Keith Harris, wasn't it? Who did
That's
Orville the
it.
Duck?
Rest in
It's
peace,
kind of
obviously.
yeah, it is kind of a weird looking thing, but it's not menacing at all. I don't feel it's got a little. Hang on a minute, it's got a nappy on.
Oh yeah, that's weird about him.
What? Why has it got a nappy on? Why has it got a nappy on?
Because he's a baby, I think. I think it's because he's meant to be like a baby.
Yeah, it is that. That is a weird thing. You'd
And I've
almost
managed to
go.
pull the other one. The ostrich that the man with the ostrich that wasn't Rod Hull and Emu is Bernie Clifton. He had an ostrich, but that was a double puppet because he had the legs as well. So it was like he was riding around on it.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
like driving about.
It strikes me as, and no disrespect to ventriloquists, comedians who kind of aren't that great, and they kind of need a little bit of a prop, and they need a bit of a gimmick to kind of it
I
wouldn't
never
fly.
thought you'd go after Nina Conti like this.
Nina Conti, I find that quite creepy with the little mouth on the when she puts the mouth on people.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, it turns them into ventriloquist dummies. Very scary.
Yeah, it freaks me out a little bit.
She's bloody Mary Shoreham.
She's Mary. I'm looking at a picture of Rod Hull and Emu. Sorry, of Orville the Duck here, right? He's got a nappy on. The nappy pin is massive. The nappy pin is at least 100 times the size of a normal nappy pin. Is that
In the
right
very fact
size?
there's a nappy pin, I don't reckon I haven't had a baby, so the modern babies have nappy pins.
No, exactly. So not only is Orville the Duck, who's been around since the 60s, 70s, 80s, I don't know, aging Orville the Duck.
The past.
He's been around for years. He should be out of nappies by now. Not only that, he's in an old school cloth nappy with a nappy pin, which is dangerous for a little baby. What if it comes unstuck and stabs the baby?
That's why you have safety pins, I guess. They shouldn't do that.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, those are my favorites. My favorite one is the horrible, scary dummy, Sir Charles. What was your favorite? Orville.
I don't know if I go as far to say I have a favorite. Orville, because he's not menacing. He's got big old chubby cheeks. And really, now I'm looking at more pictures of him. He's got a mullet. He's got like a sort of feathered mullet going on. It's just it's a weird world. I think us growing up, we kind of were used to seeing it, but as an outsider looking in, I'm looking at it now, going, "This is some mad shit." Some mad shit, especially when Orville is like in a pantomime, and he's got the same costume on as Keith Haring.
Oh yeah, even the little boater hats on and stuff. They have the same outfit.
This is great.
Any overseas listeners, I
Yeah, sorry.
imagine at very
Sorry.
least the English speaking world, this must be quite common, right? You must have the ventriloquist from your country. Please send them in. I want to know who your creepy ventriloquist was growing up with a
Yeah.
now in hindsight quite scary dolly. I'm especially interested if you're from a country where you're listening to us in a second language, what your if that's a thing that happens in your country. Do people whose first language is English, do they do ventriloquist dummies, or is it a is it purely a British seaside thing?
Oh, it sounds like it. Very strange. Anyway, but apart from that, this ventriloquist dummy called Billy is just your classic looking dummy in a little suit. Looks like Slappy, I guess you would say. And I think because of Slappy, this look is kind of universally known as a scary one. Isn't it?
He's got scary, unblinking eyes. They have a little mess with him, and he opens his mouth like does a big open mouth.
Yeah.
And they go, right, so Vinny nips off to get the Chinese takeaway.
Yeah.
Don't forget the chicken balls, please, not again. Don't order prawn crackers from the beginning, because if you have a big enough order, they'll definitely throw some of them
They'll
in.
throw them in, yeah.
And it's a mug's game actually ordering prawn crackers. Don't do it to yourself.
No. Don't do it, you mugs.
Don't do it to yourself. So don't even worry about it. So he goes off to get that, and then his wife stays in and displays an orgy of evidence that they're going to start trying for a baby, aka sticks a jumper up atop to have a wonder what it might look. What it look like if I had a
It's
baby?
A right laugh, that is. Stick a bloody jumper at your top. It's a right laugh. You'll know exactly what it's like to have a baby.
But unfortunately, while she's in the middle of doing that, first some things go on, like the jukebox goes on, and then the kettle goes on. Then she nips back into the room, and the dummy is sitting up under the covers. And then it throws her across the room and snaps her jaw off.
It's pretty mad. It does throw her across the room, like it sort of wraps her up in a sheet. Does it do that? And then
it wraps the sheet round her head, thumps her across the room, and then gets. I'm guessing in hindsight she must shout or scream, because at some point when they first see the dolly, because they're both from a small town out of the way, and then like with anything, sometimes you'll see a thing which will instantly remind you of a childhood poem. And she says to Vinny from Home and Away, do you remember that? This dolly doesn't that remind me of this poem, this creepy poem I had growing up? It goes a little something like this. Let's see if I can recall it. It's beware the glare of Mary Shaw. She had no children, only dolls. Doesn't rhyme. And if you see her in your dreams, for fuck's sake, mate, don't you scream.
Don't scream if you see this lady in your dreams. It's a bit like, you remember that there's that man who apparently appears in everyone's dream. He's got like a monobrow and like a sort of bit of an egg head. This guy. It was like
I feel like you're making this up, Ben. I've never heard such preposterous talk.
You never heard about the man who appears in everyone's dreams?
What monobrow egghead that you just invented?
There's like a weird story about this man. It's literally called This Man, the face that everybody dreams about. And it was published in 2008. And apparently a person who appeared in many people's dreams since 2006, but has never been identified in the real world. He was the main focus of a website called Ever Dreamt of This Man. And he's got a monobrow and like a comb over. Anyway.
I have to Google that later. There's no time right now.
Google this man. Anyway, that's what it was kind of a bit like.
If you do know him, do get in touch.
If you do know him, do get in touch, this fella. It's kind of like one of those urban legends, collective consciousness things. I think we've seen some stuff. Maybe there was an X-Files episode a bit similar to that, where there were references about this
The
bloke.
monobrow comb over man. It's like Rabsy Nesbitt.
But basically, Mary Shaw's laugh. How do you feel about them rhyming Mary Shaw with dolls?
Strong negative, Ben. I think I've made
There
my
was no
feelings on that
woman.
expressly clear.
There was no woman called Mary Shaw. She had no kids, only dolls.
Dolls.
Only dolls.
Also, her name is made up. Just give her a name that rhymes with dolls.
Yeah.
Like
Mary
call her. There was a
Shoal.
woman called Mary
Shoals.
Scholes. Yeah.
Also, why are we automatically pointing fingers at this lady and saying she's got no kids? What's it matter?
It's that has been that's classic making a woman the other just because she's failed to fill the misogynistic
2023,
entry of having buddy kids.
Yeah,
Think of her as lesser,
you had
don't
no
you?
kids, you're less. You had no kids, only dolls. Okay. I bet you treated dolls like real people, don't you? I know we're going off on a lot
Also,
of time.
it's kind of worse that they're not saying, "Oh, beware of Mary Shaw. She didn't have any kids because she fucking hated them, thought they were shit." It was she had no kids, but it's got dolls that probably indicate she's probably a little bit sad that she doesn't have any kids.
Yeah, this is sad, isn't it? Because I feel like, again, another tangent, but like the real life, the living dolls, I think they're called. Nothing to do with who sings that song, Cliff Richard.
Yeah, nothing to do with them.
But like the babies that kind of look very, very real, but are dolls. I've seen a lot. I've seen like there's like TV shows about people who have them, and people who like have them kind of get mocked a little bit. And I mean, it's a bit sad, isn't it? Like, because some people might do it if they can't have a baby and they kind of want to sort of take care of something.
Yeah, I'm putting it out there, Ben. The people in this little town that we're going to learn about shortly,
Twats.
and the family from the new John Lewis advert with the piranha plant, and the family from the John Lewis advert in the previous year where they exiled that dragon for only following his nature. They all deserve exactly what happens to them. They all deserve the things that happen because they're bad sorts.
Why are all these Christmas adverts talking about exiling people who are different?
Yeah, what's that? Exile someone who's slightly different, Shay. You're like, oh, we bought this piranha plant and we brought it just because it makes your house a little bit messy. Chuck it out in the garden.
No wonder people who shop at John Lewis probably have very outdated views. Sorry if you shop at John Lewis and you don't have outdated views.
Just tell them next year, just do a plant where if you have like a dragon or a piranha plant, just include it in the Christmas, right? Where don't exclude it until your kid makes you feel bad for it, everybody.
Don't
your more progressive child goes, oh, maybe we shouldn't throw this person out in the cold because they're slightly different.
Out of order, isn't it?
It is a bit.
Okay, but Lisa, for coming up with this stupid, she didn't come up with it, but for reciting this stupid thing, it's not because of this, but as well as she gets killed. It looks like her tongue's been cut off. It's a classic.
A tongue's been ripped straight out, and then
it's a classic like death face from obviously probably made popular by The Ring, where like you're sort of like aghast and your face is all twisted and mad. I don't know, something like this one doesn't look very good, though, does it? Because it doesn't look like a practical effect. It looks very. I mean, we've got to talk about the effects in this as well, but the CGI sort of face stuff, is all a bit Snapchat filter.
She does look a little bit Snapchat filter. She's got a bit of a chalky face, and her jaw's been broken.
Yeah.
And a tongue was gone. And when Vinny gets back from the Chinese takeaway, tragedy upon tragedies.
They've set it up to have a laugh of him, covered up the body with the sheet.
A lot of bad ghosty characters also seem quite intent on pseudo framing someone for murder unnecessarily. So he gets back from the Chinese takeaway. I mean, that's about to get wasted because he gets back home and he hears his wife come in calling him saying, "Oh, meet us in the bedroom, will you?" And he goes,
"Meet us in the bedroom. Can't wait for one of them chicken balls."
Oh, he's gone. But they left the kettle on, trying to burn the house down. And she
goes, how'd you leave the kettle on? Oh wait, it's America.
It's on the hob. Yeah, it's on the hob. Real life horrors of not having the voltage to be able to carry to boil a kettle. But she goes, "Oh, didn't even put the plates in to warm. Bloody hell."
Oh, girl, is that legit? Does he say that?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say, what kind of world are you? What kind of world you live in? It is that what you do? Put your plates into warm.
No, but it's something I've been criticised for not doing in the past.
I see. I see. I've never done that, so perhaps I'm also worthy of criticism.
I've had takeaways before of my folks, and it'd been like, "Oh, we put the plates into warm. Just the food's here now. The plate's been warm, offsetting
Eating
the."
your Chinese and going, yuck! Off of a cold plate, disgusting.
I know some people that are proper aficionados when they're making a cup of tea. Karen's granddad used to this. He used to warm the cups before he put it in.
Oh
So
wow,
it's a nice touch, isn't it?
that sounds like a lovely touch. Yeah.
Warm the cups, put a little bit of hot water in from the kettle. Just
Oh,
when you're getting it, while you're brewing the teapot. Oh,
that's a man who's made many a cup of tea and he knows
yeah.
what works.
Yeah, he's a real expert. But that isn't what he says. He goes in and sees she's had her tongue ripped off, and then we get a
Yeah.
wonderful double. I love this little bit of time transition. Arguably a little bit cheesy, Ben, but I quite liked it how it basically he saw his wife and we see the reflection of his wife in his eye, and then
Yeah.
we zoom out and you see him outside the house going, "Oh bloody hell!" Police coming, and then it does another
Yeah.
iris out from his eye of him sitting down at the police station where he meets Donnie Wahlberg.
Dizzying, but I think it's all right. Very music video, but still. He meets Donnie Wahlberg. Donnie Wahlberg's off his head. Well, he's not off his head. He's just very obviously. He's immediately pretty much cut and dry. Gone.
You did it.
You bloody did it, mate. That's right. I've seen enough husbands. Never seen a killer dolly kill someone, but husbands. But he's like jaded by working as a detective. Seen so many husbands who've off their wives and blamed it on a killer dolly.
Yeah, walks in and basically goes, so killer says what? Be like, beg your pardon? Oh, shit. Usually works.
That will stand up in a court of law. Done and dusted. Less paperwork from me.
Another case closed. But no, he doesn't do that. He goes in and he does say like, Ryan Kwanten is saying, "Oh, but it was the dolly. Oh, this happened. It was very strange." He goes, "Mystery tour department's down the hall, mate. This is the murder department." And I was like, "Are you implying that actually is a mystery tour department in your police station?"
There is. Don't worry about it. There is. And it's weird that kind of Jamie tells him about the rhyme as well, doesn't he?
Yeah. Do you remember this rhyme? Where the gaze of Mary Shaw, she had no... They say this a lot. They're trying to get this to stick.
They had Mary Shaw. She had no kids, only
dolls.
dolls. She had no kids, only dolls. A deceased ventriloquist from his hometown, Ravens Fair. Pretty good sounding hometown, right? I'm off back to Ravens Fair. I'm getting out of Ravens Fair. I've had enough of it. But yeah, when does he decide? So Jim Lipton is the detective. There's lack of evidence, so we're going to release you. And then what does he do? Does he see the mysterious Billy box with the message?
Yeah, he goes back to his house where the police have not taken any evidence. They've basically just hoovered up around where his wife was murdered, and they just go back to your house then, I guess. Yeah. So he goes in and he looks at the mysterious Billy box, and it says, "What's the note say now?" Come home.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, it just shows who it is. It's like the famous Mary Shaw.
Yeah. And for what reason does Jamie go, right, that's it, I'm going back to my hometown?
I think he's saying that because they're both from the hometown, so he takes his wife back to be buried.
That's right.
In her spooky hometown.
In a spooky hometown called Ravens Fair, and that is where he goes to meet his family, his estranged family. The town's all old and run down, looks like shit as well. Since its best people left, Jamie and Lisa, no one cares anymore. But yeah, he goes to meet his estranged, wheelchair-bound father, Edward, and he's like, "What are you doing in a wheelchair, mate?" And his wife, Ella,
he meets his new wife, who's ever so nice. She's like, "Oh, sorry about your wife having her tongue ripped out. Ever so sad to hear it. Thanks for coming over, though. Do you want to meet your dad?" He goes, "Oh, my dad's a real piece of shit. I don't really want to hang out." And he goes, No. He's really nice these days. He doesn't fight with anyone. So he's like,
he's chill these days because he had a stroke. Sorry, we didn't tell you he had a stroke. We just didn't think it was relevant to.
He said he never answered his calls, and his dad there's one thing that the stroke didn't change. He will never leave a voicemail or simply text what's happened.
Can you just text me the details? Can you email it to me? Send a letter. Bit old school, I know, but do that. Nah, didn't answer the phone. I can't be asked. Telling you.
To be fair, I suppose saying someone's had a stroke, maybe that is the kind of message you want to pass over personally. But if they're missing his calls, and he's on a big breathing apparatus when he gets in, so stepmom goes and stands behind him, and he says, "Yeah, Jamie, I don't argue with anyone anymore so much."
Wait, no.
Oh no, his mouth moves.
His mouth moves.
Yeah,
don't ruin it. Don't ruin it. We're gonna spoil it, but don't ruin it.
Yeah, he goes, "Oh, sorry, I've been a bit funny. I'd get up, but I've had a stroke, so I'm sitting here in this wheelchair."
Yeah.
He's quite nice to him, his dad is, but isn't very helpful because, you should go and bury her. Do you want us to make any arrangements for you? We could probably sort it all out. He goes, "Nah, I'll do it myself."
I'll do it all myself. I don't need help from you. And he has the help. There's local mortician, Henry Walker. And it says here, Henry's senile wife, bit harsh, Marion. And
Marion's then he's saying one ear. Knows what's going on.
Marion's the only one with her bloody head screwed on round here. And she urges him to bury Billy as well, right?
Yeah, so chuck that dolly in the ground, why don't you?
Get that dolly in the ground. I'm sick of the sight of it. And obviously, Jamie does so. Jamie does so? It says here Jamie does so. Does he do that?
He buries him in a bit, but he comes back, doesn't he, and gives him a jump scare by the window.
That's right. He buries him, and then he comes back, and I think he just sat by the window, and there's obviously a bit, I don't really know what's happening here, but where like the room's filling with red light and then going dark, and then red light and going dark. We know that some sort of jump scare is going to happen. I think that's it. I think a lot of the jump scares in this film are pretty heavily telegraphed. So, I don't know what to expect really, but it wasn't hugely effective.
So we have the funeral, we have the burying of Billy, and then he's back in the hotel room. Jamie goes to bed that evening, and we see sort of the spectre of Mary Shaw in his room. She's sort of behind a flowing net curtain, and then he sits up with a gasp when he's gone. But then you haven't had enough scares in your life. Who does turn up? Donnie Wahlberg going, "Oi, taking this evidence, this spooky dolly that I ignored and didn't take when I was investigating this murder scene. I'm pissed off that you've taken it."
I'm fuming, and I've followed you here. I told you not to leave town. He's like, "I gotta bury my wife. You will bury her in the town. I tell you to bury her."
Not a moment too soon.
Too soon. And I think, so basically he finds his actions suspicious, doesn't he? But still, there's not enough evidence. Well, there wouldn't be enough evidence, but there's no evidence to sort of
actually arrest him or do
actually anything. Arrest him. Which, he should listen, shouldn't he? Is this when Henry, the mortician, basically gives us Mary Shaw's backstory as well?
Yeah, because he examined the body of Jamie's wife, and he was a bit surprised by it. And we never see why, but he's taken his. But then when he goes to visit him, Henry Walker explains that it must be about the ventriloquist who lost her voice. And I think joke's on Jamie here, because this isn't resolved in this flashback how the ventriloquist lost her voice.
No.
But he does let the story conclude. So we go back in time to learn that this tiny village where almost no one lives was once upon a time the site of a world-class performance venue.
A world-class performance venue, where you would get people doing a lovely ventriloquist act. Britain's Got Talent style.
Britain's Got Talent style. And when he was a little boy,
to watch this. Yeah, so it was, a young boy named Michael. Oh no, sorry. So it was when he was a little boy.
It's young Henry.
Young Henry was watching it. He was watching the act of Mary Shaw with Billy, and obviously there was a bit where Mary Shaw goes, "Whoa, where's the doll? He's under your chair, right there." And he goes, "Right over here. Could you bring him up
there
on
stage?" The chair, right there.
Right there. And then she starts doing her ventriloquist act. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a nice little gentle banter, like going, "Oh, blooming hell, that." I'm sorry, I did. Sorry, his voice does move. So oh, bloody hell, that box ever so dusty. And then just while she's doing a little bit of lukewarm banter, there is a little voice goes like, "I can see your lips moving, bloody dickhead!"
A little boy named Michael. He
Piece of
rudely
shit,
claims that he
Michael.
can see her lips moving during one of his performances. And does that Mary Shaw fuming about it? Absolutely
And
fuming.
then you know what? She does shame him because then she does brilliant bit of work as ventriloquist where
Oh yeah.
she basically manages to talk over herself. So she's like, "Oh, Billy, give it a rest, mate. Leave it out." And he's like,
Leave it
"No,
out, just a kid.
fuck him, get back."
We're gonna fuck him up. And publicly humiliating the kid would be bad enough. But no, Mary Shaw's not finished because Michael later then disappears. And this is where why was there a jump from that to the family blaming it on Mary and then going,
Well, that's later. We don't see it now. It just basically
no.
goes in this particular flashback. It just goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, and actually, she died. She like that happened. She embarrassed that kid, and then actually, sometime later, she died in a fire." It just literally like it goes back to the man in his kitchen saying,
How did
"Yeah,
she die
so
then? Did she die at ease, surrounded by family and loved ones in her home? Did she die of an illness? Fire,
yeah."
burnt to a cinder.
But, yeah, absolutely burnt to a crisp. And despite that, though, she did say it was in her will that she'd be buried with her dolls, and she actually wanted to be made into a
Her,
doll
her dolls.
herself.
I mean, do you know
And
what? Do
as
you know
we all
what?
know, Ben, apparently wills are legally binding.
Wills are
Whenever you
legally
write in a will, they
binding.
have to do it.
What's this? So it says you want to be buried with your dolls. I mean, we can probably do that. How many are there? Hundreds, and they're not little dolls either. They're massive ventriloquist dummy dolls. You want to be buried with all of them? Have you got a plot of land big enough? That's first. I want to know.
No, just
But
regular
wait a
public
minute.
graveyard, please.
There's one more thing here on the thing, and also, I would like to be turned into a doll as well. And they've just gone, well, that seems perfectly fine
Oh,
and fair.
it
We'll
was.
get that
It
sorted.
is a last will and testament. So, by all
How would
means,
you even
anyone
go about
listening now,
doing that? Would you just go to the person in the funeral home who's like there on work experience or something? Listen, we got a task for you. It's a bit of a weird one, but that body there, I know we usually just tell you to move bodies from A to B. Can you turn that doll? Can you turn that body into a dolly, please? How would I do that? You're gonna have to improvise.
you're gonna have to get on with it pretty quick though, because we are gonna have to bury her alongside 100 dolls, each who has an individual gravestone. I might add.
Wait, is
Um,
that true?
yeah, because like in the plot of land, it shows like there's like loads of graves that have just got a first name on them. So I'd assume
I
that
mean,
means the puppets.
Mary Shaw, I can't imagine her being totally loaded because she was a ventriloquist act
Uh,
who.
she wasn't spending money on feeding and clothing kids though, because she had no children. I'm not sure if you recall that bit, only dolls.
Yeah. Oh my god. And that's what happens, right? That is the equivalent of when people now say, what's that, you bloody millennials, Gen Z, all that lot? Stop spending money on Netflix and other things. And then before you know it, you'll have 100 million quid.
You have so much money you can afford a plot of land for each of your ventriloquist dummies to be buried.
100 dolls. That's a lot as well. It's a very specific number as well. Like, did she have 100 and then she bought 101 and she went, I'll get rid of the oldest one I've got actually. So I've
Yeah,
always got 100.
it's maxed out at 100.
She had no children, only dolls. This is just a mad story. This is like Henry. I'd be like, Henry, what was the point of this story? I feel like you're giving me no information that I can actually use. You're just telling me a horrible story about some boy, and then some boy went missing. Anyway, so
Yeah, that boy went missing actually. And then, by the way, just to conclude the story, my dad was the mortician, and when he'd been tasked to turn her into a dolly, I did go down and have a peep, and
oh yeah,
foolishly stood on the like side of the table, and it collapsed on me, and she fell out, and
oh,
um,
that's pretty
and I
horrible,
got
no?
proper scared, but still did eventually grow up to be the mortician anyway.
Yeah, it didn't stop me wanting to become a mortician. If anything, it made that drive even more. So, um, I mean, here on Wikipedia, we've kind of got the rest of the flashback. So, what happens next in the actual legit
In
story?
the actual film, I believe that Vinny from Home and Away goes and has a look at the he goes and has a look at the burned out old
Oh
theater.
yeah. What the hell?
You
What
have to
is
take
this
a little
guy
boat over
playing
there.
at?
It's like a little Resident
A
Evil
boat.
house.
It is like a Resident Evil. What's he doing with his time? I mean, I know he's grieving, but what's he doing? Like, I don't believe at any point that he believes enough in this story to go and doing his investigation. Do you know what I mean? And also, there's no like true like. Well, I suppose the goal is to try and clear his name, but
Yeah.
still clearing your name by saying,
But
"Turns out it was a
Donnie
ghost
can't prove
after
it
all."
anyway, so it doesn't matter. Vinny goes along to the spooky house. He has to take like a across a misty lake with like a box lantern across there and everything. It's proper like mystery time he goes there. And he goes
Yeah.
to the old fire damaged theatre that burned down. And in there, of course, he finds a completely unfire damaged book which talks about making the perfect doll.
the perfect the perfect book of it's a bit like that room at the end of in Resident Evil Village where you walk in and it's just all of the plot nicely summed up
All the
into
clues set out
all the
making the
clues.
perfect doll, and then like some more dollies fall down, and you realize there's something going on.
Is around about the same time as this when the mortician's getting killed as well?
So this happens in like some kind of because he has an escape. Oh, that's he goes back and finds the mortician dead a little bit later. First things first, though, he
Yeah.
has to go back and follow up on the story because he sees some more things about the perfect doll, and he sees some more dollies fall down to the floor. Give him a little jump scare, so he thinks, right, I've got to go back and see my dad again. So he does pop back to see his dad. He's enjoying some lovely soup at the time. He's like, his stepmom's there feeding his dad some soup. Good. Oh, lovely
Sorry,
soup, if I do
excuse me.
say
I
so
have a
myself.
lovely bit of soup. It's delicious.
He's like,
Perfect.
oh, popping it right up. And then he goes, oh, talks about, and this is where, Ben, we get the other bit of the flashback where
Yeah.
um, this one goes, well, now I think of it, Henry didn't mention House of Ventriloquist who lost a voice. He goes, oh, let me fill that in for you. So basically, after your great uncle Michael went missing, is the little boy who was ever so rude at the performance.
Oh yeah, so he was related, wasn't he? He was great uncle. Did he really know that until it
No,
was
I don't
kind
think
of
he did. He was like, what?
you what?
um,
I slated him in when the flashback was happening. I proper slated him. I said, "What a little bastard!" Now it
I hope
turns out he's my
someone
great
killed him and
uncle.
cut his tongue out and turned him into a dolly. Wouldn't have
Good.
said that now if I knew he was my uncle.
No.
Um, but what happened is the dad goes, oh, of course, we, the family, knew that the only person we thought it could be was Mary Shaw, because she had no children, only dolls. So we thought, what's a
Let's
good
do
punishment from her for her?
mad.
Well, do something to make her scream, chop her tongue
Yeah.
out, teach her a lesson, and then burn her up in the fire.
They lynched her.
Yeah, lynched her. Said something to make her scream.
We're
Said,
gonna lynch you.
got you.
Got your bloody
Oh,
tongue.
yeah, as soon as you scream, he's going to pinch your tongue out. So they chopped her tongue off, um, and then burned her up. So they killed her in a fire, and the dad basically says, "Yeah." And unfortunately, what we did there was create a very vengeful ghost who now is getting
Yeah.
its way amongst it with
A
everybody.
vengeful ghost who seems to show its true form to people. They scream, then she cuts their tongues out, essentially.
Cuts their tongues
Uh,
out, and she's
but
been getting the
there's
husbands, the wives, and the kids of these families for generations. She's
the
been getting them.
Ashen family. Of course, main character Jamie is part of. We also see a bit where Henry sees, because he sees Shaw as a doll, but he doesn't scream. He goes. He was spared thanks to his silence, his
Yeah.
dead silence, because Mary only kills those who scream when exposed to her true appearance. I mean, this is just one of those sort of backstories slash because in a way it's like, oh, it's kind of tragic because she got murdered, she got burned, she got lynched, and but she did kill that little boy, even if he was a little bastard. So
Yeah, I
it's
don't
not like
know.
one of
He was
it's not
pretty
like
rude.
it's not like one of those tragic, when there's like a tragic ghost who's like, okay, they're clearly like a malevolent spirit because they've been um treated badly when they were alive and then murdered in the name of something. Usually these kind of stories are like, oh, but she didn't actually kill him. The boy was found, I don't know. He turned up a couple of weeks later. He'd been living in a cave. He's been fine this whole time. Oh no, we've bloody murdered Mary Shaw. That's usually how the story goes. But with this, it's like, oh yeah, she did kill him. So she is a wrong one.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
And we find out exactly the murder that she did later on. But right now, we know that the ghost is having revenge. What they've done is created a vengeful spirit. And you're right, there's some things going on with the mortician right now. But Donnie Wahlberg turns up at the house and
Yeah.
says, oh, sorry, Ben, they've realized that this is when the mortician gets got because his wife has a habit of going under the crawl space under the house. Classic
Yeah.
crawl space horrors.
Classic old lady crawl space horrors. This is pre The Visit, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pre The Visit. Despite the fact he clearly mentions, I thought I told you to put a lock on it, mate. Put a lock on.
Yeah, come on. She ain't picking locks.
But he thinks his wife's in there again, and he goes and he sees the true form of Mary Shaw, and she's got a big horrible, like a venom tongue.
Yeah, like a big old meaty venom tongue, and again, very CGI. Of course, you can't get real tongues that long anyway. But still,
no, you can't. Not try as you might, you just can't do it. So, and as he does see her under there, she gives him a bit of a fright, and he goes, ah! And as soon as he's changed from shouting to screaming, she goes, ah, got your tongue. And then she basically she says like, oh, I can do your voice now. So I
got
think
your
her
voice
power
now,
is.
yeah.
As soon as she's killed you, she's made you do a break your not dead silence.
Yeah.
And she kills you, pulls your tongue out, and then she can impersonate you. That's the power that she's gained. She's like Rory Bremner, all the celebrities he must have killed and taken their tongues out.
She's like a ventriloquist, and now she's just doing impressions. All right.
Yeah.
So she's just like, she's desperate to make it in light entertainment.
So knowing that this happens, so Donnie Wahlberg turns up and he's quizzing Vinny some more. Just as they receive a call at the house, the stepmom passes over from the mortician saying, oh, I've got proof that it wasn't you actually. Come to this abandoned theatre that you were just at a few minutes ago.
Oh yeah.
And I'll tell you all about it.
Perfect. I'm on my way.
And Donnie Wahlberg is sick of it. Like he goes, oh, you ain't going. And he runs off. He goes, don't make me chase you. But then he
says, don't make me chase you. This is my car and even got a full tank of gas.
Yeah, so angry that like he's like, well, I'm gonna have to fill this up on the way. I'm gonna be here 10 minutes after you.
Can you come pick me up from here? I'm running on fumes here.
Just work together, lads. Just go together.
Car share.
They don't work together. Yeah, they're not really thinking sustainably, are they? But they don't share. Donnie Wahlberg, the detective, arrives at the haunted theatre a few minutes after.
Yeah.
But they eventually do catch up. He gets his essentials out of the boot. He gets torch, shotgun.
It's a great. If this is a survival horror game, and there's even a bit later which feels like a first-person shooter moment, where certain dolls start coming to life. It's like shoot that one.
Yeah, they got to do it. So they get there. In a little scuffle between them, they pull down a curtain, and there's absolutely walls of dollies.
Yeah, because earlier we saw that the dolls have been dug up as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They've all been dug up. She needs a full
set. There's walls and walls of dollies, but one of them looks very like a body, doesn't it?
Yeah. You know who it is?
It's old Mickey.
Rude little Michael.
Rude little Michael, who he's a bit rude, but maybe he didn't deserve to be turned into a human marionette doll. And just displayed. So it seems like Mary's ghost was killing. Was it all kids? But just
Mary alive was killing that kid for being rude.
Yeah, killed that kid for being rude.
And then she's got him sat on her lap when he's a little bit less fucked up than he is now, because I guess he's aged a bit. But the little boy is dead, and she's got him on the lap going, "Oh, I like you, Bobby. Hello."
I mean, yeah, it's just a bit mad. If we're trying to think of Mary Shaw as a tragic character, I mean, you can't believe it, especially by the fact that it gets revealed why she killed Lisa at the start, and it was because, "Come closer and I'll tell you." Remember that when it was
Yeah,
like
because they do this little flashback, and then they find a scary clown dolly, a bit like Poltergeist, just sat in a chair.
it's like she's literally gone, "As if my dolls aren't scary enough, I'm gonna whip up a little clown dolly as well, just to add to this."
Yeah, so she's made a scary clown dolly, and she goes, "Oh, come closer, and I'll tell you." Because basically, you're the last one.
Yeah, you're the last one of the Ashen family. I'm killing your bloodline, and the reason I killed Lisa, your wife, was because she was pregnant with your child. So there, I'm killing any potential newborn member of the Ashen family. Why is she preemptively killing? I'm gonna kill the whole Ashen bloodline, even if they're a fetus.
Yeah, and also, if she doesn't need to kill people there in the town, if she can kill him from anywhere. Why didn't she kill him in New York? Why didn't she wait for him to get back with a Chinese takeaway and get him then?
Yeah. I was just killing him to mess with him, to ruin his Chinese. Because to be fair, we all have a Chinese takeaway, and there's nothing worse than when it's ruined by something happening. You know what I mean? Oh, your Chinese takeaway's just arrived. Oh no, there's an emergency. Oh, the emergency can wait.
You haven't even eaten the plates up. It won't stay warm.
we can eat it when we get back. Stick it in the microwave. It ain't the same. Ain't the same, is it, Andy?
No, it's not.
Nowhere near the same.
Some foods can be recovered. Pizza, absolutely safe. Curry, not bad. Chinese, hard to reheat.
Yeah.
Shouldn't really reheat rice.
No. It's got enough what's it called? What's it called?
MSG.
MSG. It's got enough MSG in it, it'll be fine.
Just a flavour enhancer. That won't help with reheating.
No, it won't. It's just a flavor enhancer. Everyone hates the sound of it though. MSG. What else is that? Don't worry, it's just posh salt. Right, okay. So what happens now? So that happens, and I think they start a fire to try and destroy the dolls.
Yeah, because she realizes, because she's going into the dolls, shoot them, and then obviously Donnie Wahlberg's shooting prowess isn't going to be able to get all those hundreds of dolls.
There's a bit where they go, "She's living in the dolls," and it's living in the ventriloquist doll. She's living in the dolls, living in the. There's a proper bit like that, and this is the first-person shooter moment when the various her face starts coming out of various ones, and he's like shooting different ones. I mean, this looked a bit shit, didn't it?
Yeah, this is where the effects get a little bit wonky. And also, this is where we get to the difference between shouting and screaming, because these two are hollering at each other, going, "Shoot the dolls! Shoot the dolls!" That's a shout, though. It's not a scream. But then as we run out, I would argue, if I was the Ghost Realm lawyer at this point, I would argue that Donnie Wahlberg deserves to be got here, because he screams because she collapses the gangway he's walking on and he's falling into oblivion. So if he's falling, is that a scream?
He's already dead. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is dead already, right? Why does he need to be got as well?
Yeah, so he's falling down and he shouts a little bit too loud, so it passes over to a scream. And the second he does it, because it's like the second you scream, she can basically pop your tongue out of your head. Like, it's like insta-kill. That sets off the QTE that helps to get you.
Oh, God. Yeah, the QTE, she gets you. He's been tongued.
Yeah, he gets his tongue slapped right off, and he falls down into oblivion. Then as they continue to go on, Jamie starts falling as well, and he does begin to shout, but he quickly covers his hand over his mouth.
You got to cover your mouth to stop it, right?
Because then he smashes through the floor and then just goes into some water, swims along, and then I just couldn't catch this. When he gets out of the water, he thinks of something several times. He's like, he has a memory of Billy, number 93 or something like that, his little case being empty, and he goes something like, is it last one? Or he realizes that the Billy doll is not there.
Something like that, yeah. Something like that. So how does he get hold of Billy? Because he
So
throws Billy into the fireplace a bit
yeah,
later.
so he basically goes to the mortuary, goes, "Where's Billy?" He goes, "Oh, Billy, your dad took him." My dad doesn't get out of a wheelchair,
Oh yeah, that's it.
old woman.
Oh, yeah, you old senile woman. I know your husband's dead, but where's the dolly?
That's what I care about.
It's
So then
very
he leaves
important.
that woman without any proper care, goes back to the house, and then he finds Billy the dolly, and then he just sits and waits. Genius
Yeah.
plan, if you ask me. He sits and waits until Mary Shaw comes up, and
Well,
she's like, "Ah,
Mary Shaw can fast travel, surely, right?
yeah, anywhere with this dolly, she can fast travel to."
Surely she can.
Mary, surely.
Mary, surely she can. She had no
Um,
kids, only.
any dolls. So Mary Shaw appears in the room where Jamie's sitting and encroaches upon him to try and spook him enough into doing a jump scare, shouts you can pull his tongue out, and
Yeah,
he waits ever so patiently, and then when she's
ever so
really close,
patiently.
he grabs Billy by the feet and he's like, "Get in the fire."
Get in the fire! Throws Billy in the fireplace, and then what happens? She just vanishes?
Yeah, she just vanishes, and he's going, "Ah, success. That is that sorted.
That's all you
Everything's
got to
all
do.
good." And then he has a sudden realization. Hang on a minute. Did it say that you were the last of your kind? What about my
Oh, well, we
what about
pop.
what
He's
about
all
my
right.
dad? And he pops over to
He's
see
chilling.
him, and he's just there, sort of slumped over in a wheelchair. And he finally goes round the back of him, sees that he'd been halved.
He's been hollowed out, and he's got a big, horrible, gaping wound in his back where there's like a sort of stick, which I guess is supposed to like be his operation as a ventriloquist dummy.
To move his
He's a,
head. Okay.
he's a human ventriloquist doll, perfectly preserved.
Yeah. And he has a little flashback to the diary and goes, "The perfect doll, perfect dolly."
The perfect dolly. And then we get what's essentially like the soul music. Where all the blanks are filled in, and this twist you never saw coming. Here's us explaining it, and you're going to be shocked. Scream! Don't scream, just shout. Terrified, bemused by what's happened.
His
Even when
stepmom,
he's having a bit of soup, it was just dropping into a little bowl at the bottom.
yeah, the stepmom was basically Mary Shaw, despite the fact she could appear as horrible, scary ghost all the time, can also appear as sexy
Human.
stepmom.
Sexy stepmom. What is Mary Shaw's problem? Because it seems like sometimes she just wants to kill fetuses, other times she just wants to kill anyone and everyone. But for some reason, with other people, she'll make them into a dolly.
That massive vendetta is what she's got.
Yeah.
Because she was trying to wipe out that bloodline and all those things. And
Not
then
only am I going to kill you, I'm going to turn you into a bloody dolly. A really realistic dolly.
So that was her plan. She obviously had lured him back there so she could do the trick with the dad dummy as well. Don't know why she went through it. She could have just killed him in New York. That would have been fine. But basically,
Ella's been doing his voice as well. So Ella, possessed by Mary Shaw, has been doing the voice, doing the ventriloquist.
Oh, she's possessed. I assumed it was just her.
No, she's possessed by Mary. That's right, isn't it? Because I think so.
No, I never picked up that she would have been a real woman. I just thought, oh, okay, she just is her.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
possessed.
know. Maybe possessed because the ghost of Mary Shaw comes out of Ella and goes into Jamie at the end.
There you go. Yeah. So Ella, completely normal stepmom.
But they could have easily linked it to Ella by going, Ella is like Mary Shaw's living relative. But then again, she had no kids,
she had no children, only dolls.
She had no children, only dolls. So yeah, Ella's been doing the voice, and when you watch it back and you know the twist, you do see a very slight little going on, which of course, when you're watching it, you wouldn't really be paying attention to. I mean,
unless you're that Michael kid. Oh, I can see your bloody lips.
I can see your bloody lips moving, you bloody loser. But she's better at ventriloquisting.
Better than Mary Shaw. I bet Mary Shaw is
She is
raging.
Mary Shaw. Mary Shaw's just got better in death. So yeah, basically when this all happens, Jamie screams, realizing everything when Ella comes up to him, and then the ghost of Mary Shaw goes out of Ella directly into Jamie as he screams.
So that's a different coded entry then, because I assumed that Mary Shaw was just masquerading as a young normal woman rather than having possessed someone.
Are you
And
masquerading
then
as a young normal woman? Yeah, I
and
am.
then I just thought when he did the scream at the end, she was right. I said dead.
Yeah. I mean, that's
But
how
if
I got it, and that's how it seems to explain it here. If that's not correct, and you are a Dead Silent super fan, please let us know if you've got it
I
completely
mean,
wrong.
yeah, I guess I could go either way. So either he is possessed and now he's a Mary Shaw,
Yeah.
or that was the trick and now she's killed him. And if that's the case, everything's wrapped up nice and neatly, because if that's the end of the bloodline, she can pass on to the
Yeah.
next life now.
She can pass on to the next life, which is going to be in hell. Relax.
For killing all
Oh,
those
I'm done
kids.
now. It's fine. You killed a lot of kids and turned them into dolls, though. Straight to hell for an eternity of pain and suffering. Ah, it's a price I'm willing to pay.
Yeah, it was really vindictive little ghosts.
So now essentially Jamie is also a puppet. He recites the nursery rhyme about Shaw looking for a photo album while you see all the other human puppets, Lisa, Henry, Lipton, Edward, Ella, and Jamie, all turned into bloody puppets. All of them have got like the little slits down the side of their mouth. But for
Yeah,
some reason, the dad ain't got that. They've just gone, that dad.
that's because he's the perfect doll. Should put the
That's
extra
right.
effort into him.
I'd be like, I want them all to match. He's got to have that as well. And then Mary's old hand closes the book, finally completing her revenge and ending the Ashen bloodline, which kind of begs the question, like, why? I think a Dead Silent sequel has been discussed a lot, and I think a lot of fans of the movie sort of discuss it. It's all done and dusted. It's all wrapped up.
Yeah,
You got nothing to do.
yeah,
Um,
she's finished the business. She can move on. She can get on and retire.
yeah. There we go, and that's the end. That's the end of Dead Silence. Can you believe it? Have you got any name game? This is hard because you know what? Not like words rhyme with silence today. You got to really stretch.
I've got a couple for you. Have you got a Do you have a synopsis for me?
I mean, a young widower returns to his hometown to search for answers based on it about his wife's death. That is a better one than the actual synopsis on the IMDb because that just spoils it all.
Okay, here's what I've got for you then. So a young widower returns to his hometown to discuss and to investigate the abuse that has been taking place perpetrated upon baked goods.
I mean, it's the first one I wrote down as well, so clearly we're on the same wavelength. It is bread violence.
Red violence, yes.
Okay. That's probably the only one that makes sense that I've got.
What have you got then?
Bloody hell, this is bad. A young widower returns to his hometown to search for answers based on his wife's death. The only clue that he's got to go by when he's trying to find the perpetrator is the tights that she wore on the night they were betrothed.
Is it Wed Nylons?
Yes, that's correct. Wed nylons. Nylons.
Nylons, very good.
Nylons. Is that very
Um,
good? I don't think it is.
this is what I've got for you then. You can decide if yours is good or not based on this.
Okay.
Detective Donnie Wahlberg speaks to the coroner, asks for their conclusion after a young woman has been slain by a knight in a jousting contest. He says, "What's the verdict?" And the coroner says, "She is."
What happens when you get slain by a knight in a jousting contest? Stabbed by a what's it called?
Well, she's passed away.
Done. No, it's called a what's it called? Dead.
Yeah.
I can't think of what that thing's called.
Has she been killed?
how's she been killed?
Yeah. Under what
Spiked.
method has she been rendered dead?
She's been jousted.
Yeah,
I can't
unfortunately,
think of
then
what that thing's called. What's that thing called?
she is dead via lance.
Ah, that's what I couldn't think of. That's a good one, actually. Violence is very good.
Dead
Very
via
good.
lance.
And I absolutely apologize for this one. I couldn't think if I could just think of Lance, I'd have had that. I couldn't think of what it was called. I was like, long stabber.
The long stabber, look out.
Not the long stabber, it's coming for you. Okay. So a young widower returns to his hometown, search for answers based to his wife's death, and it leads him to a school where he finds the lead singer of Limp Bizkit has been kept behind yet again. And then our main character sighs and calls the lead singer of Limp Bizkit something that would be very rude and relate to the fact that he's not very intelligent, especially school-wise. He might wear those little hats with a D on it. He sighs. That's one of the...
So it's Fred.
Yep. Sigh. I'll give you that.
Fred. Sigh, a dunce.
Correct. Fred. Dunce. Fred Sigh Dunce.
Fred Sigh, a dunce. I have one more for you. So a young widower moves back to his hometown, not to investigate his wife's death, but because he's ever so afraid of and wants to avoid a British actor who appears in a lot of historical things, but also was the voice and CGI model for the BFG. Wants to avoid him. Ever so scared of him.
The voice and CGI model for the BFG?
Yeah.
Oh! David Attenborough.
No, David Attenborough.
No. Well, no, wait, what? The voice and CGI model for the BFG looks like Prince Charles, King Charles, David Attenborough. Who am I thinking of?
I'll give you a clue. His last name rhymes with silence.
His last name rhymes with silence. I mean, I'm struggling to think of the word for a lance, so I don't think I'm going to get this. Give me a clue of who he is.
He's in lots of like period dramas like Wolf Hall and things like that as well, but he's also in Dunkirk. He's the old man who he's the fishing boat captain in one of those sections of the story.
Oh wait, directed Thor as well.
It's not Kenneth Branagh.
Ah, for God's sake. Oh wait, who's the old man in Dunkirk? I can't remember. I'm gone.
So he's running away because he's afraid. So this is a situation of dread Rylance.
Oh, Mark Rylance. Oh, see, to be fair, I was thinking of someone really mainstream for some reason. I don't know where David Attenborough came from because he's not even an actor. I was like, what was he based on? And then for some reason I thought, yeah, David Attenborough. That's all right, lad.
Unfortunately, under normal circumstances, then I would accept Mark Rylance as a deep cut.
Mark Rylance, I would easily have that as a deep cut. He's in bloody Ready Player One. You could have given me that.
Yeah, I would accept Mark Rylance as a deep cut if during this episode we hadn't discussed Bernie Clifton.
Was he really the voice and thing in the BFG?
Yeah.
I've never seen it. I didn't know that.
Neither have I. I IMDb'd it when I was looking for rhymes.
We've seen Mark Rylance in Bones and All. Could have done that.
There you go, you see.
You've mugged me clean off. Okay, last one from me. A young widower returns to his hometown of Springfield to search for answers to his wife's death. And when he visits a certain Homer Simpson, he realizes that his usually upbeat Christian neighbor is completely quiet.
Ned Silence.
Ned Silence, correct. I don't know how else I could have framed it, but that was easier than what Dread Rylance.
Dread Rylance, and of course, Dead violence.
When you first said Dread Rylance, I thought you said Rylan. I was like, the BFG was modelled on former X Factor contestant and light entertainment TV show host Rylan.
Rylan Clark.
Rylan Clark. Well.
Rylance.
I mean, we gotta rate the movie. So, do you want me to go first? Considering I'm probably going to be a bit more mean than you.
Yeah, go on.
I mean, this is the second time I've seen this film. I don't think I would have watched it again if not for this show, based on my previous sort of thoughts of it. I find it very, like, I described it before as being a bit basic bitch. It's very basic in terms of the way it feels like a film made by someone inspired by the movies of James Wan and Leigh Whannell / Whannell. Copying like a lot of things that kind of make those films popular. I don't necessarily want to say good, because it hits a few certain beats that makes it popular. It seems to just draw from various things, and it never really feels like it's got its own personality. It's called Dead Silence. They could have really focused on the fact that you need to be silent around this ghost. It kind of just felt like it was just an added bit. All of these moving parts, it seemed to like it doesn't really lock into a single one theme. And yeah, I just find it a bit. And again, the scares, I find them very, very telegraphed. And Mary Shaw looks pretty scary as a ghost, and as it's effective. Didn't really need the venom tongue to be scary. Didn't even need to be a ghost really to be scary. This could have easily been like a scary old lady murderer,
Yeah, he's got all sorts of plans.
And in terms of a ghost story, like, the character usually does have to be like a tragic character who's been treated badly for us to kind of understand why she's doing what she's doing. But she was a murderer, so
in a way, kid did start it though. Rude.
Yeah, rude kid, bloody rude kid. I've got to go for a D- for this, because I honestly, based on watching it twice, I just find it kind of boring. I find myself sort of drifting in and out of, like, not consciousness, but drifting in and out of, like, actually paying attention, because I don't think it's even particularly, like, the performances aren't great. The effects are a bit wonky. And I think, yeah, just in terms of a concept, kind of interested in places, but I feel like the concept needs to be more focused. I felt like the concept was kind of loose. Ventriloquist, ghost, kid murderer, turning people into dolls. That stuff's all kind of there, but it never really comes in to make a succinct, scary movie. So yeah, D- for me on Dead Silence, unfortunately.
I can see where you're going. I also agree with everything you've said, that it is a little bit disparate, a little bit all over the place with the things. You could possibly have even got away with having one less thing that she did.
Yeah.
Like one last thing that should have then lean into some of the bit more, like get more of her doing impersonations of people to trick them into giving away clues, or just give someone else a bit more to do. Like I think there would have been a good film to make here, like especially as we're seeing the filmmakers, not Whannell,
James Wan,
lost him, obviously very tired. James Wan, like leaning into doing like giallo films. I would have liked like a giallo film with a killer. Didn't need to be a ghost for me. Like, they are triggered when someone actually screams, and they're desperate to try and scare them so they can scream, being the ventriloquist to really put some red herrings. Give me a little bit more of a mystery in this. Give me a little bit more of some more characters that they meet in the town, and who done it. Is it the mortuary assistant? Is it the seemingly senile wife? Is it like the dad or the stepmom? Give me those things and make those twists really hit. And I think you've got possibly a more exciting film by taking the ghost angle out of it, but marking it for what it is and what it isn't. There's some fun to be had. I like the boogeyman. I'm going to go ever so slightly higher than you and sit this at a flat D. For those, a little bit of a lighter touch in some places would be good to pick up. But also, there's a lot of you see a lot of filmmaking technique and a lot of passion for the genre, which I know has taken James Wan and Leigh Whannell a long way. I think there's a lot of stuff to enjoy, but not quite coming together for me in this example of it, which you could excuse more if it was their earlier work, but reminding them that it is it is post Saw. These guys are accomplished filmmakers by this point.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Like, it feels like in terms of modern horror movies, when I say modern, I mean like sort of from 2005 onwards, the sort of genre of mainstream horror movie that I never really gelled with was this sort of film. So yeah, and even now when I see films that are kind of like inspired by this sort of stuff, even now it doesn't always quite sit right with me. So I think it's got to be really done well for it to be something that I enjoy. So I'm not surprised that this didn't quite hit the mark with me. Okay, there we go then. That is Dead Silence. Next week we're jumping into December. It's Tales from the Hood is going to be our first episode of December. Yeah, and then obviously, as we mentioned earlier in the show, we got some other episodes coming up for
We'll get the order
to round
lockdown.
off the year. We'll get the order locked down. So early December, we'll put it on the socials what it's going to be. So thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our current patrons. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. And we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Discord. All over the bloody place. All over the place. Got our nasty old finger, not nasty fingers, nice fingers in nice pies. And of course, thank you, Andy, for joining me and being a right horror dude. It would have been weird if it's just me on my own.
Yeah, it would be. Thanks to
It
you,
never
Ben,
is.
for being a right horror dude, and everyone else who's a right horror dude out there. But you know what, Ben? Before we go, got this episode reminded me of.
Go on.
Old poem that I used to listen to growing up.
Oh, yeah? Growing up in Tamworth?
Yeah, growing up in Tamworth. And it said, beware the gaze of Ben Errington.
A memorable poem then.
Yeah, he did have a kid actually, but he also did a podcast. Doesn't have to
It's
rhyme
true.
apparently. Poems, it's completely optional these days.
There was there was a guy called Andy Conduit Turner.
He lived an incredibly long name, hard to rhyme anything with.
He lived in Scotland. He had a couple of dogs. That's it. That's all you need. That's a poem.
That actually worked. If my name was Mary Shaw and I had no children, only dogs.
Only dogs. There we go. Well, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Take care now. Don't scream, only shout.
For goodness sake, right? If you do see Mary Shaw in your dreams, don't go screaming, all right? Because that's actually gets you. She'll slurp your tongue right out your head.
She'll slip your tongue right out. Very nasty. Right. See you later.
See you later, boy.